And now it's kids' time, and so it's time for Alice Taylor.
Ciao, tutti. I have a startup called Makey Lab, and we make 3D printed toys. And this is the story of how we started pretty much at maker events, and we're bringing toys to the mainstream. It's a journey that we're on that is still happening right before our eyes. If I can get this clicker to work, I will tell you this story. There we go. Whoops. Whoa. Okay. So we wanted to help or introduce or bring the magic of 3D printing to play and to games and to toys. My background is a gamer, and you will have noticed in video games that avatars are very popular, but you will also have noticed that recently virtual goods, so things that you buy in games that are purely digital, have been a phenomenon for nearly 8 years or so now. And we wanted to see if we could make virtual goods turn into physical goods. So we build web and tablet apps where kids can create an avatar just like you would see in a video game. And our software pushes that avatar to 3D printers. We use MakerBots in the office, but the main parts of the avatar are printed on a professional grade 3D printer. That's the big machine. They're very expensive. They cost about 150,000 euros and up. Although the patents behind those machines are about to expire, and we will see that price come down radically and rapidly. And the end result is a co-created toy. Each one of the dolls, apart from these four, each one of the dolls are completely unique to the little kid or the adult who made that doll. These four are the non-player characters from our game, all of whom are named after engineers. I wasn't allowed a doll as a kid, and I'm really, really grateful for that. I was given Lego, I was given teddy bears, and I was given computers. And that's what made me do what I'm doing today. But when it came down to avatars and dolls, I wanted to see dolls for kids that would maybe introduce something other than pink and other than shopping. So this is Tesla, Curie, Ada, and Hopper. I think you can guess who they're named for. We make them in London, we assemble them there, we paint them, we stick the eyelashes on, we put them in boxes. Each one is completely unique, and they're actual toys. The reason this is important is because we had to put the dolls through toy safety certification, which we passed for Europe and the Middle East. Now we're working on America and Asia. But the basic white nylon that comes off any SLS printer, as long as you make a shape that isn't shaped like a knife, or that doesn't break into a stabbing object, it will pass toy safety, so you can make toys too. This idea came about because I was at the toy fair. My background is in digital. And I saw digital games in a basement and toys, this is in the New York Toy Fair, toys upstairs, this was in 2010. And they weren't talking to each other. The toys were all made in China, pretty much, and the digital stuff was made everywhere else. These two books both changed my life. I'm sure you've read the one on the right. The one on the left is the story of how toys used to be a creative, making, hands-on, Geppetto-like exercise, and how over the past 30 years it has become a machine. 95% made in the Far East, and only through giant corporations, the likes of which Mark was talking about. Usually, an inventor will go to one of those giant corporations like Mattel with an idea, but once the idea is bought, off it goes through the machine. When Corey wrote Makers, one of the first things that happened was somebody on the internet modeled the picture on the front and sent it through the post, printed on an SLS machine. And it's a toy. It became a toy. I wanted to take it apart, but Corey shouted at me. This is what a toy shop still looks like. The reason Barbie is that high is because that was the distance between the shelves in the 1950s. Toy shops are strange places. This is, I don't know which one this is actually, but I went to one big one in London, Hamleys. And they said, we're a real estate business. If you want to put your toy on a shelf, you have to bid for that shelf space against Mattel or Hasbro or Spin Master. They don't necessarily curate it. Everything you see in the front window, paid for by Lego, by, whoever. And so you don't normally see startups and individuals and makers and small companies in places like this. Customization, co-creation. With traditional manufacturing, if you want to make a doll, you have tools made for the molds, you send it off to China, and it comes back with hundreds of thousands of pieces that go in a warehouse, and then they go to the store, and you spend a lot of money on marketing. You can't make toys for individuals. American Girl does it, but what they do is they have 40 versions of one doll, and you get to pick one that looks most like you. That's a very, very, very expensive way of doing customization. What we did was we put our product live pretty much the moment we had a working demo, which in the traditional world you would never do. A doll, to use one example, toys, but let's use dolls as the example, will take about 4 years from concept to shelf. And in that process is all the testing and the building and the making and the feedback and the failures that you do towards getting to something you want. We decided to try it the software way, put it live, iterate with feedback. And we got feedback straight away. We have people on the forums doing science and taking pictures and showing each other. So when we went live, the dolls were bone white. We discovered skin color through boiling the nylon in tea, coffee, blueberries, industrial dye. The clothes we put the patterns online and encourage people to hack them and remix them and change them. And they share to each other, and they're doing things that we could never have predicted. Or maybe we could have, because they're makers, they're creative. And it's amazing to see it happen right there in front of our eyes. This is just awesome for us. So we launched the skin colors, and these characters, these co-created characters with backstories started to emerge. This lady made a dollhouse using IKEA cutlery drawers with little bits of wallpaper. Mods emerged. We built the head to be the size, this was 1.5 years ago, of a lily pad Arduino. So just in case anybody wants to turn their doll into a robot, they can. And of course, somebody did. This is one of the first things that came back from a lady called Kat. She lives somewhere in London, and she wanted Japanese-style nekomimi ears for her doll. So she made them with an Arduino and some servos and some felt ears. So when she walks into the room and claps her hand, the doll's ears turn towards the sound. We've just put the dolls into Selfridges. Selfridges is a large department store on Oxford Street in London. And this is the most terrifying thing we could ever have done, because this is just 1 year later. And we are still learning on a daily basis about what people want and what people expect. One of the things, kids will play with the avatar creator for hours, but parents will come along and say, what is this 3D printing? What do you mean 3D printed? We're going to be doing 3D printing in store so that kids can co-create little accessories. But it's a journey that we're taking together with the retailer. The mainstream have high expectations, or very, very, very low price expectations, thanks to China and cheap manual labor abroad. And at the moment, 3D printed goods are much more expensive. But things are coming together. I mean, that's a pattern, as you all are aware of, Moore's Law and similar. It's only a number of years before they catch up. 3D printing won't replace traditional manufacturing. It won't replace injection molding, which is fast and cheap. But it opens up a whole world of something new that people can do together and create entirely new products that couldn't exist before. Some things don't go away. Launching a new brand is difficult. There's a lot of noise out there. When Lego launched Friends, which is their pink product for girls, they still choose to spend $40 million on the launch in America alone. And again, as an individual or a startup, how can you hope to compete with that? It's really, really tough. There's no solution to this necessarily. For us, our solution was to build a game and to build to work with the getting the product where people can just see it and tell stories. The game that we're building that comes out of Christmas takes making culture and turns it into a kind of resource management game. And this is our attempt at trying to compete with the likes of Lego. And we'll see where it goes. But at the same time, what kids will be able to do here is make not only their avatar, but you can see there's a little 3D printer there and a sewing machine and a textile creator. We want to get kids to also co-create the clothes that their dolls are wearing, right down to drawing on the fabric, which we can print with laser printers directly onto textiles and send kids cloth kits where they can make their own doll and make their own clothes with their own patterns, and maybe later too make their own furniture. This for me is a creative play that you just don't get with the stuff that comes off the shelves. I'm glad hype came up. There is tons of hype. You can't 3D print your kidneys. Don't even think about it. This was last year. 3D printing was at the top of the hype cycle. The Gartner research put this out every year, and the technologies plopped along the line. The shape never changes. This year, they clarified it. So a printer on every desk in the home is still a while away, but enterprise 3D printing, the professional machines, that's there now. You can all reach those machines by just going to the equivalent of shapeways.com. It's right there. The stuff that they use to make the motorbike out there, same machines. No permission required. You don't need to go and ask a toy company or a motorbike company or a boat company or anything. Technically, with the internet and these machines networked, you can reach anyone anywhere from day one. We did at the moment, we mostly reach people in America. 60% of our traffic comes from the States, but we've already sent dolls from day one, because it's an internet product, as far as Singapore and Ecuador. All the barriers you're aware of are lowering. The main one, too, is that there's money there, finally, with crowdsourcing and VC, which means that projects can happen. And you can think big, really, really big. It is magic until you build it yourself. And when you get kids doing this, you can see their minds changing right there in front of you. Right there in front of you. These kids are going to grow up as makers, believing that they can do and make things that my generation really couldn't generally believe as a total group. You can see what's happening here. This girl is thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And this girl has changed the world. Thank you very much. That's me. Here's
so good.
Ciao, grazie.
I love grazie zio Arduino. Thank you, Uncle Arduino. It's so good.
Where is he?
I don't know where Massimo is. Thank you,
Zio
Massimo. So, as you know, I have a curiosity about your daughter's name. That is actually, I have to read it, Poisey, Emmeline, Fibonacci, Nautilus, Taylor, Doctorow.
Yeah.
And so Fibonacci too.
See.
But why Fibonacci?
I chose, wait, which way round? We both chose poesy for Edgar Allan Poe and poetry. Emmeline, politics. Fibonacci and Nautilus. I chose Nautilus, Jules Verne. Fibonacci, her grandfather is a mathematics professor. But obviously the Fibonacci sequence describes the Nautilus. We're nerds.
How do you call her actually?
Huh?
How do you call her actually?
Poesy.
Okay, that's Poesy. Just Poesy. That's good. And so, thank you, Alice.